What is going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back to the Draft.com studios. We're continuing our series here where we're breaking down buying or selling players by their current ADP. In this episode, breaking down the third round as of right now, so make sure you stay tuned for all that. Real quick, before we get into this list of names, head over to our website, thefantasyheadliners.com. Our draft guide is for sale over there for only $19.99. Almost 500 pages of straight fantasy football fire. Absolutely something you guys would enjoy, getting a lot of great feedback. Also, we're giving away an autographed Alvin Kamara jersey for anybody who has bought our draft guide and anybody who will up until August 15th. Make sure you don't miss out on that opportunity either. Kyle's laughing because I said the word boughten. Now, apparently, he doesn't think that's a word, but you know what? I don't give two craps. I'm going to keep on going with it because boughten is definitely a word in my mind. So anyway, let's break down the third round ADPs starting right now. Well, I'll give Kyle a second to compose himself, and then we're going to start at the 3.01.
I'm good. Let's jump into it. 3.01. I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of these players in the third round, they're a buy for me. There's a couple of sells, but the first guy, T.Y. Hilton, I'm going to put him as a buy because that Indianapolis Colts offense is about to be hella fire. Yep, that's right. I said it. This season, Andrew Luck, an awesome offensive line, a good running game with a power back and Marlon Mack, and then you've got your receiving back and Nyheim Hines. Jordan Wilkins is there to help pick up a little bit extra as well. So many good things about that offense. T.Y. Hilton, to me, even with some added weapons at wide receiver, Hilton is still a great third-round value. I'll buy him here.
I mean, I kind of lost all train of thought when you said hella fire, but
Hella fire.
I'm just going to continue with it. I'm going to buy T.Y. Hilton also. Love the offense. Yes, we have to, contend with the Eric Ebrons and the Jack Motherfucking Doyles. They got Never Funchess there now. He's going to soak up some targets. He won't catch any of them, but they're going to throw it to him every once in a while. But yeah, T.Y. Hilton's going to be the number one receiving option in this offense, led by Andrew Luck, who has, made a huge comeback. I expect big things once again from T.Y. Hilton. If he can stay healthy, he's going to crack into the top 10 for the wide receivers. Love T.Y. Hilton. He's a buy for me right here also.
3.02, our boy Keenan Allen. You've also got that jersey hanging right behind you. We're going to be giving that away as well. Jake's going to put a link in the description to the video that we talk about how you could win that jersey. But Keenan Allen, I talk about this guy all the time. I love this guy. He was able to shed that injury-prone label that he was given off some really ridiculous injuries that, an ACL and then a lacerated kidney, not things that are typically injury-prone type injuries, but he's a guy who I've told a lot of people, if he's my wide receiver one, I'm happy because he's got a really safe wide receiver 2 floor with a nice wide receiver 1 ceiling. The touchdowns, we'd like him to be a little bit higher for a wide receiver 1, but that doesn't matter because he's still going to get a ton of work. I'm buying him here.
I'm right there with you also with Keenan Allen. He's definitely going to be a buy for me also, and you kind of hit it right there where you said you're okay with him being your wide receiver 1. I am too, because if you get him in the third round, more than likely that means you went heavy running back first and second. You have 2 solid studs in the backfield. Keenan Allen to pair it off in the third round. The safety is there. The volume is there. The offense that's going to supply the work with Phillip Rivers is definitely going to be a bonus for you. I'm all over Keenan Allen. Absolutely buy here in the third round.
Yep, and we're moving on to 3.03. And the taxi man, Lenny Fournette. This is a new nickname that we've come up with. I referred to Leonard Fournette as Lenny Fournette, and I said that he sounded like a New York taxi driver. But Leonard Fournette, obviously he's got the injury concerns, and he's a guy that I haven't really been on recently until I did a video a couple of weeks ago about him and why, if you're wanting some risk and you're willing to take some risk, Leonard Fournette is a must-own for you this season, and he was not a buy until I did that video, and now he is a buy for me at this position because I feel like as long as you got your running back 1 already and you started with a very balanced running back wide receiver beginning to your draft, then you have the opportunity to take a guy like Leonard Fournette here who could have all of the volume in the world if he stays on the field this year.
I kind of want Leonard Fournette as much as I want to kick to the man junk. It's really going to depend on my first 2 rounds, to be completely honest. You said you're okay with him being your running back 2. I'd prefer him to be my running back 3. So the only way that's going to happen is if you go running back, and you may end up passing on some names that you probably shouldn't if you do that. For that reason alone, I'm not willing to take the risk. I'm gonna sell Leonard Fournette.
All right, 3.04 is going to be Marlon Mack, and we already mentioned it with T.Y. Hilton. That Indianapolis Colts offense is going to be hella fire this year. So I think we need a new hashtag. We're going to get that on a shirt soon. Hella fire. Anyway, so that offense is going to be really good this year. However, I'm going to sell Marlon Mack right here. I like Marlon Mack this year, but I think he's more of a safe running back two, maybe mid running back two for me right now. I do believe in Nyheim Hines. I think he's the guy that can legitimately cut into a lot of the passing game work for Marlon Mack. And even though I like him, I don't know if I'm willing to buy what potential upside could be there when there are some guys coming up after him that I'd rather have. So he's a sell for me here.
Yeah, absolutely. And for some reason, I do not understand this with Marlon Mack. I love the talent. I love the possible upside in that offense, but there's so many running backs out there that people talk about how injury prone they are, and then it never really gets mentioned with Marlon Mack. I mean, this is a guy who's missed a lot of games in his early young career due to injury, and I'm not saying he's injury prone, but we can't give him a pass if we're not going to give all of the others. I do think that the upside is there for Marlon Mack, but like you said, there's a few guys later on down the list that I would rather take my chances with. There's a reason that these guys are in the third round and not the first round. It's because there's some risk involved with it, and I'm not willing to take it with Marlon Mack. He's going to be a sell for me.
Yep. Moving on now, the 3.05 is a guy that I just talked about on a big names to avoid video that I did, and it's Adam Thielen. And again, I just want to reiterate, I like Adam Thielen. I think he's an excellent wide receiver. He's had back-to-back excellent seasons. I'm not knocking him at all. I just think that the wide receiver one upside we've seen the last couple of years turns into a nice, safe wide receiver two type upside. I just think that upside and floor come a little bit closer together with Thielen this year. And then in the back of your mind, you have to remember what Thielen has done the past 2 years when you've gotten to the playoffs. Is it because of a lot of targets? Is it because of a heavy workload? Is he a guy that breaks down a little bit as the season goes along? Check out that video if you want some in-depth thoughts on him, but he's a sell here for me because I think I'd rather have him in the early fourth round.
Yeah, I mean, he's still a decent value right here.
Yeah.
He's really a toss-up, and it really depends, like I said, on what your earlier picks have been. He's a very safe play. But if you're drafting Adam Thielen right here in the third round, expecting that 10 straight games of over 100 yards receiving, you got to temper expectations a little bit. There's a legit, conversation to be had whether he's the best wide receiver on his team right now, much less somebody that should be taken here early in the third. I like Adam Thielen. I like the upside of Thielen, but there's a few names later on that I like a little bit more. I'm going to sell Adam Thielen, but I still think he has a solid 2019 season.
Yep, perfectly said. Moving on now.
I said it, Kyle.
What?
I said it, so of course it's perfectly said.
This is true. 3.06 is going to be AJ Green. And he's a guy that, I was buying into a little bit earlier in the offseason, but we mentioned this already with Joe Mixon. I'm concerned about that offensive line. I think they have the right head coach. I think they're going to implement the right offense. But that offensive line, are they going to give Andy Dalton enough time? Are they going to be able, is Tyler Boyd, is he going to come in and say, hey, I'm not the wide receiver one on this team, but I'm going to take some work away from you. I like AJ Green, but again, with the same thing I said about Adam Thielen, I think we're missing some of that upside that we've seen in the past. They're a little bit safer moving forward, but that floor and that ceiling come closer together. And there are some other people after AJ Green right now in ADP that I'd rather have. So he's also a sell for me right here.
Yeah, and it's just the health of AJ Green. I mean, I want to think that he's going to come back and be strong and have a great opportunity. We already know that, Andy Dalton will be back under center. We know Tyler Boyd has taken such a huge step forward. That could really take away some of the defensive attention from AJ Green, maybe more than we've ever really seen before. I mean, he started off pretty hot in 2018 before he got injured. I don't dislike AJ Green right here. Am I going to reach for him, and am I excited to buy him in the third round? I'm not. I'm going to say he's a sell, but it really depends on who's been taken before him. I think that upside is still there. If he's the best option on the board, then by all means you should buy him for that potential upside. But the way we've had things laid out here as of right now, I'm going to have to sell him because there's still some other names I'd rather have.
All right, coming in at 3.07, Devonta Freeman, a guy that we've talked about on this channel already and some other episodes as well. The injury concerns, they are something that a lot of people have on their mind right now, but we've talked about it. Is he really that injury prone, or we just have a little recency bias not seeing him on the field that leads us to believe that this is a guy that could miss substantial time in 2019? Yeah, concussions are a concern, but at this round, at this point in the draft, Do you really think that you're going to find another running back that has the receiving and the rushing upside that Devonta Freeman has in that offense? No. That's why he's a buy for me here.
100% a buy. And I got a lot of hate earlier in the year for this because the whole injury prone, narrative just will not go away. And the whole concussion narrative, listen, it's the running back position. Every running back is one play away from being injured. It's not like it's just Devonta Freeman. And I know I mentioned it with Marlon Mack a little bit earlier. That injury concern is always going to be there, but that's the reason these guys are in the third round and not the first round. Huge upside for Devonta Freeman. Don't forget, this guy was the overall #1 fantasy player for the running back position just a few years ago. Yes, the recency bias is there from the injuries, but don't buy into it as long as he's going into 2019 healthy, which it looks like he is. I'm buying him everywhere I can in the third round.
3.08, another tight end. We're going to talk about Zach Ertz here. And like I mentioned in the last video we did talking about round 2 and Travis Kelce, it's hard for me to spend such an early pick on a tight end. Again, a lot of people are saying it's a really thin position. It was really bad last year out of your top 3 guys. But again, we've got some guys coming back this season. We've got an O.J. Howard who we hope is healthy all year. We've got Hunter Henry that's on the way back. What are we going to get out of Evan Ingram in an offense where you're missing Odell Beckham Jr. now? I'm skipping on these tight ends early because I feel like those middle rounds where I can get those 3 plus a Vance McDonald offer me way more value. Plus, Zach Ertz has basically doubled up his career highs from 2017 to 2018. I see a little regression coming. Even though it's not that much, it's still enough for me to say, I'll wait for a little bit better value later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't forget about Dallas Goedert in that offense either. I mean, he's somebody who could see a slight increase in targets at times. Not going to say he's taking away Zach Ertz's work, but you mentioned it with those other mid-round tight ends. Heck, there's even some guys in the later rounds I may take a stab on because there's just too many big names. There's too much depth at the running back and wide receiver position right here that I don't want to miss. I'm going to pass on Zach Ertz also. He's going to be a sell for me. Yes, he's going to be one of the top tight ends, but the gap between him and the guys 3, 4, 5 rounds later isn't going to be big enough, in my opinion, for me to have to take him here in the third round.
3.09, Derrick Henry, and a guy that I've talked about very early in this offseason. I know he fooled a lot of people last year, but don't give up on him yet. This is going to be a huge year for him. I'm definitely going to buy him here because I think based on his workload, and this is a guy that I wrote about, a big article that I put on the fantasyheadliners.com a while ago, he's in for a monster 2019.
Yeah, I'm going to buy him as well right here. And it's not like we're just drinking the Kool-Aid, all right? We realize that there is risk involved here. Kyle's drinking something. I don't know what it is, but you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. It's a new year. They kind of saw what they had with Derrick Henry at the end of the year. Are they going to go out there and give him 25 to 30 carries a week? More than likely, probably not. But at least they should give him enough of a workload between 18 and 20 touches a week that what other running back in this area is going to get you that type of weekly volume? There's not a whole lot. And if you passed on running back in one of the first couple rounds, if you can get him as your number 2 and you still have your solid running back 1 and wide receiver 1, it's a great value. I'm buying Derrick Henry here towards the end of the third.
3.10, my boy, Amari Cooper. Love me some Amari Cooper, and Headliner Nation, if you're returning from last year, you already know Jake and I had a very differing opinion on Amari Cooper last season. And I'll tell you guys, basically, and gals, the same thing. Amari Cooper is going to have his bad weeks. He's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster, but his upside is legitimate wide receiver 1 in that offense, an offense that's going to be very good this year. I'll absolutely buy him in the third round. Questions asked.
I had no doubt that you were going to buy him there. And here's the deal. So last year it was hashtag Amari Pooper on the show for me because you would no longer get excited and he would let you down for 2 or 3 weeks.
Hashtag always Amari.
That's your hashtag. But I got to be realistic. There's certain people that I need to adapt to, and Amari Cooper will be one of them. Devin Funchess will never get adapted to. He's always going to be – he never Funchess. But Amari Cooper, yes, in the position he's in a contract year with him and Dak and Zeke, all of them looking for money, a lot on the line for the Dallas Cowboys. This offense could be very, very improved. We kind of saw what Amari was capable of in this offense at the end of 2018. And if he can start 2019 off the exact same way, absolutely, Amari Cooper at this point is a great buy. Am I excited if he's my wide receiver 1, though? I'm not. I would rather him be my number 2. Why? Pooper and number 2 just seem to go together. However, it really depends on your roster construction. I don't hate Amari Cooper this year. I think he's in a lot better spot than he was in 2018. He's a buy as long as he's not your wide receiver 1.
Coming in at 3.11 here at the end of the third round almost is Lord Patrick Mahomes Esquire, shipping merchant from the Isles of Kansas City. That's what I'm referring to him as. He sounds like a fancy shipping merchant. Patrick Mahomes coming in at the end of the third round here. And, I'm just not an early QB guy. I like getting my quarterbacks late. I understand what Patrick Mahomes is. I love Patrick Mahomes. He was my quarterback 2 in that draft. He's the guy that I've hyped since the draft. However, I see a little bit of regression this year. Just a little bit, not a ton, a little bit, but it's enough for me to say, hey, third round is a little too early for me. And mainly because quarterback is going to be such a deep position this year. I put some information together in a tweet a couple of months ago where I said basically the difference in points per game basis from the QB6 to like the QB 15 or whatever, it was like 0.2 points. There's not that big of a difference between some of those mid QB1s to some of those mid QB2s. That's why I just can't see myself spending a pick on Patrick Mahomes here when there's so many good skill position players available.
Yeah, and it really goes back to this. How many people out there in fantasy football world would be disappointed if at the end of 2019 Patrick Mahomes had, say, 4,700 passing yards and 45 touchdowns? Not too many people are going to be, they're like, hey, I'll take that all day long. Well, now by doing that, all of a sudden the gap that was between him and the number 2 and 3 quarterbacks last year has really shrunk. I mean, that's enough to get him within striking distance of Matt Ryan and Ben Roethlisberger last year. He's kind of back down into the same stratosphere. Going to be the top quarterback. Love Patrick Mahomes, but I'm going to wait a couple more rounds later and get one of those guys, in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th round even that has more value in my opinion. They may not have the upside of Patrick Mahomes, but they're cheaper, and I can stack up on running backs and wide receivers now and not have to worry about some huge gap between my quarterbacks. I'm going to go ahead and sell them here in the third.
All right, wrapping up the end of the third round here. Again, getting all of our ADP from our friends over at Fantasy Football Calculator. George Kittle is the last pick of the third round, 3.12. And basically the same exact thing that I've said with the other tight ends already, Kelsey and Ertz. I can't see myself picking a guy this early when I know there is such tremendous value with the next big 3, Henry, Howard, and Ingram coming a few rounds later. 2 to 3 rounds later is where you'll get them. Because of all that, I'm selling him here. I can't use a third round pick on a tight end this year.
Yep, me neither. I'm going to sell him also. And for me, the reason, he was one of the only targets, one of the only options in San Francisco last year. Now, they have Dante Pettis there still. Yes, they've drafted Deebo Samuel. Jalen Hurd is somebody who's been talked about. There's a lot of other options. There's 64 running backs in the backfield that can catch passes. There's people all over the place. Marquise Goodwin should be coming back healthy for a few games at least. There's a lot of other options. It's not just the George Kittle show. They're going to spread the ball around a lot, and he may not produce the same numbers to really catapult him up there to these other elite tight ends. I still think he finishes as one of the best in the league. Just not worth that third round ADP in my opinion. He's a sell for me too.
And just to correct you, there's 67 running backs on the depth chart.
My bad. I forgot about Raheem Mostert. That's right.
Raheem what? Mostert.
Oh yeah, Mostert. That's what we called him last year. Hey, good call, Kyle. Way to go. All right, well, hey, that's the third round here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hit the like button if you did. Maybe you disagree with some of these. Absolutely. This is one of the most interactive channels on YouTube. Put it down in the comment section down below. Who would you have done differently? Maybe you have a different opinion. By all means, keep it respectful. Put it down in the comment section. We would love to interact with you guys. Make sure you head over to our website, thefantasyheadliners.com. Check out our draft guide. It's still available for $19.99. Don't want to miss out on that. Really appreciate the support here of Headliner Nation. If you're new to the channel and you've just subscribed, let us know in the comment section. Also, both Kyle and I would like to welcome you here to Headliner Nation. So hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week. And before Kyle raises the roof too high, we'll talk to you later.